So when we have a thought, it creates a neurological map, and the more we have that thought, the more set that map becomes. It's just like when I do a bicep curl, so let's say I want to do a bicep curl, when I had the clubs, let's say I might see someone doing a bicep curl and they're doing this. And I would go, well, that's okay, but actually the bicep is a two-headed muscle. So if you really want the very best exercise for your bicep, you need to rotate. So now I've got two actions, because it's two-headed muscle, right? So it's got to do two things, surely. So now I've got a better exercise. So if you think about your thoughts, you've probably got some that are okay, probably some that are a bit pants. And what we're going to do is change them and make them really good, the best that they can possibly be. And as with exercise, it is a use it or lose it. But the good thing about changing your neurological maps as opposed to changing your biceps is that if I do bicep curls and I stop after, let's say I do them for 6 months and I stop, I'm going to lose the benefits. But once we've created a new neurological map, you literally start using it without thinking. So you don't have to consciously think, I'm going to do this now, I'm going to think like that, I'm going to have this really motivating thought. Because once you've done it enough that it's set as a map, that becomes your default setting. So it's much easier than personal training and much more permanent. And yes, you have got to do it for the rest of your life, but you get so efficient, you do it without thinking. And that makes it so much more beneficial. So this is really key, and I'm going to go over this at every opportunity. I want you to really understand that every time you have a thought, it strengthens your neurological map. So if you have a really, excuse my language, if you have a really shit thought, then that thought is going to strengthen. And there's no such thing as, oh, well, it was just a thought. Thoughts are everything. Absolutely everything. And every single thought matters, because the last thing you want to do is strengthen a map that's not working for you. So we want to create new thoughts, new beliefs, new values, and that all comes down to how we think and feel. So I want you to think of a thought like a bicep curl for the brain, or a squat for the brain, that every time you do it, imagine that those neurological maps are having a little workout and they're getting stronger and stronger and stronger until they become your default setting. And it doesn't take long. So a good example of this is, let's say I took you outside and there's a meadow and the grass is knee high. And I said, right, just walk to the other side of the meadow. And you know what it's like if you walk in long grass, you've got to really go like this and really tread it down, and it's hard work. So if an hour later you find yourself back having to cross that field again, the chances are you're going to take the same route because it's easier. Even if there was a better option, you probably won't consider it because that was easy and you've done it. And it's a little bit like, you know, when you open your computer, if you're anything like me and you can't remember what you called something when you saved it, and you think, it will be in recent documents. Oh yeah, there it is, that's what I called it. So it's like your brain has this recent documents. It will always bring up something that you've used in that situation recently. Does that make sense? So you're more likely to take that same path again. And then if you come back again, you're even more likely. And again, you're even more likely. And the 10th time you're in that situation, you're even more likely. So let's say you're walking past the vending machine one day and you're a bit peckish and you put your money in, you get Snickers. Next time you're a bit peckish, your brain will present you that as an option. It won't go, now hang on, let's just have a think about this because my jeans are getting a bit tight. It will just present you with that option in that moment. And if you do it again, it will present it even faster. And then it becomes your default setting. So then you've got to actively not do it. You've actively got to make a different choice. And neurologically stand at the front of the meadow going, no, I'm going to tread a new pathway. And off you go doing that. So with some of the techniques that we're going to use, the whole treading the grass down is much easier. Much, much, much easier. And then eventually those paths become so well trodden that it's almost impossible to do anything else. So think about your brain as something you can change. And when you change the way that you think, it changes how you feel, it changes what you do, and that will change your physiology. And in fact, you can actually use your body, even by changing position, to change how you think. This is a two-way process. So it's mind-body, but it's also body-mind. And that's something we're going to look at in quite a lot more detail a bit later on. So your brain is changing, and this old idea that, you know, your brain becomes set and you can't teach an old dog new tricks, you can change your brain at any stage of your life if you know how. And this is the process of self-directed neuroplasticity, which is everything that we're going to talk about in terms of making new neurological patterns. So your brain is a very material structure, isn't it? You can look at it under scanners and actually see it, but you can't see thoughts. And the mind is sometimes described as what flows through the brain. So your mind, which let's say is the amalgamation of all of your different thinking as you have it, as those thoughts are flowing, that's shaping your brain. So think about it as a river, and I love the phrase, you can never step in the same river twice. What that means is, imagine you're by the banks of a beautiful river and you step in and you feel the lovely water on your feet and your legs, and then you step out. If you step in again, it's different water molecules. So it's the same river, but it's different. What's flowing through it is different. And in the same way that what flows through the river in terms of the speed of the water, which is affected by the weather and the wind, and if stones fall down or someone throws a log in, that changes the flow and the shape of the banks change. So your mind is like a river flowing through your brain and literally shaping it and changing it. And it's time you took control. You don't want to just steer your way down the river, because even dead fish go with the flow. You want to really decide which way the river is going to flow. And that is something that you can actively participate in as long as you get involved.